I don't know who needs to hear this. It could maybe just be me, but I'm gonna say it anyways. It's okay to fail. Failing literally happens to everyone, but for some reason, I think a lot of people, and myself included, are so incredibly terrified of failing. Pursuing game development and creating these YouTube videos have really made me aware of this fear. It can get to the point where that fear will literally stop you from simply trying in the first place. So let's break down failure and maybe see why it's okay to fail, especially when you're trying something new and creative. You get to determine what success and failure is. It's dependent on one thing. What's your goal for this? That's powerful. And managing what a good goal is huge. When I started making my platformer game called Lumina Rush, I had the goal of making a simple but fun game. My goal was centered around finishing a game and selling it. For some of you, that might sound insane to do. For others, that might sound like that's not that hard. For me, it was incredibly helpful. A good goal pushes you, but also is reasonable with what you're capable of. I had some years of making projects, doing game jams, and becoming comfortable with the concept of making games. It felt like the next step in my path, but man, does it feel like a big one. It's okay to be ambitious, but I think it's important to truly know what you're capable of. The funny thing is the only way to know what your limits are is to try and fail. I spent 2 years working on a personal project game, which was essentially turning this board game Gloomhaven into a roguelike video game. I had no idea what I was doing, but I just wanted to make this concept come to life. I worked in my free time developing systems and hacking code together to get to a playable prototype. And when I played the prototype, I realized the game's not fun. And then, to top it off, the actual Gloomhaven game was released. So I scrapped the project. And it sucked. But it helped adjust what a reasonable goal for myself was and gave me a better idea of what I was capable of. Without attempting that project and failing, I would not be where I am today. Stop comparing yourself so much. There are so many incredible games out there. Not just big AAA games. No, like insanely good indie games out there. Games that have been made by a single person. I've looked at those games, and then I've looked at what I have made, and thought to myself, I'm not even close to that level. It feels like a giant chasm that's in between where I'm at and where these other people and games are. That chasm in the difference in quality can make you feel like any success you've made is not really that important. That those wins are not enough. And in comparison to the things that you respect, you'll never get there. That you might as well give up now, because what's the point in trying when you're so far behind? Fuck that. I don't care how small your wins feel, they should be celebrated. Did you learn how to code something slightly better? Learn a new system, improve your art by a fraction. You're doing it. They aren't failures just because you see someone doing better than yourself. The one person you should really be comparing yourself to is your previous self. When you do this, you can start to see you're improving. You're moving in the right direction. Those people you respect that you feel are on top didn't get there overnight. They did it one step at a time, just like yourself. I know you feel like a failure by simply looking at others' work, but I promise you, you're not. Even if you get to the point where you have the most reasonable of goals and have the mental fortitude to only ever compare yourself with your past, you're still going to fail. I've had so many projects that I start off with so much inspiration and put my heart, energy, and soul into, only for them to turn out not as I planned. only to realize I failed at what I set out to do. But you know what? It's okay to fail. But you know what's not okay? It's not okay to tell yourself you're a failure for trying something new. One of my favorite games is a game called Elden Ring. It's a fairly brutal game where you will die over and over again. Was there any part in my mind when I played that game that I thought, I'm gonna beat this without ever dying? Hell no! You will die and die and die in that game. But every time I lost to a boss or an enemy, I got back up and told myself, we go again. If I can so easily do this with that game, why in the world can I do it with my real life? I know the difference between experiencing failure in a game and failure in real life is the stakes. There's nothing really on the line when you're playing a game, but it starts to feel different when you devote your time, energy, and money into a passion. It's so incredibly vulnerable. And the more you put into the endeavor, the more that little voice starts to whisper, you can't fail. You can't fail if you put everything into this. And if it fails, that means you're a failure. And everything you put into it was pointless. Nah, that's bullshit. It sucks to fail. It really does. But you will grow the most you ever have if you pour yourself into something and fail and learn from it. You're going to fail. And hell, maybe you'll need to take a break, and maybe you'll realize this passion isn't for you. That's okay. But if there's a part of you that wants to try again, let's listen to what games have taught us time in and time out. We go again. I know this video is a bit different, but it's been on my mind a lot, and I hope it inspires some people to give some things that they've always been curious about a shot. It doesn't have to be game development, it can be anything. I am by no means an expert at any of this. I'm just a guy stumbling his way through pursuing his passion. Speaking of which, check out Lumina Rush if you want to see the game I'm making. Or you could do the YouTube things like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you all for watching. You're all incredible. And until next time, I'll see you later.